You're welcome.
Is it recording? It's recording.
God, give me something I can groove to, please. Yes, thank you.
Ugh.
God, give me something I can groove to, please. Yes, thank you.
Hey there, team. Hey there, team. Hey there, team. Hey there, team. Sorry, gang. I was still trying to do all this stuff on the other side. Ron, I'm sure. We're doing good.
Everyone can see the we together. Just like
Thank you for calling CBS Caremark. This is
Good morning, everybody. We're excited to have you folks. We're going to be starting here in just a few minutes as Mr. Mira gets us started with all the music. We like it. Good morning, everybody. We're excited to have you folks. Thank you so very much for joining us and choosing to jump in our breakout session this morning. We're really excited. We have just a few more minutes as we get started this morning before everybody signs in. Good job, you guys. Enjoy the music. Enjoy everything going on. And we're going to get started in about 4 minutes, everybody. 4 minutes. And thank you, Mr. Mir. Take it away with the oldies.
We have a few more minutes.
Hello? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get audio.
Good morning, Jody's iPhone. I see you. Yep, good job, everybody.
Aloha.
Good morning. Hey, Mrs. Soil, how are you doing? It's exciting to see you folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. We're just letting all of our friends sign in, get everybody in there. Oh, it looks like we're gonna be up there, friends. We might even cap out our room this morning. As always, just as a heads up, if for some reason we do get kicked off, please feel free to join that link back up again. And for some reason, if Mr. Mir is just a hot spot today and we need to sign in, we invite you to go just check out another session for the time being. And of course, you're welcome to jump in. But we have about 3 more minutes. We're letting all our friends in, and we're going to be turning it over to Mr. Mir real soon. Good morning, everybody. And again, my name is Kaleo Puano. We're super excited to have you joining us today. Today is about family. Today is about fun. And of course, today is about having a great time. So we're gonna let a few more of our friends in. We have about 3 more minutes to get started, so you guys can pull up your front row seat wherever that you may be for this amazing experience. And of course, we will be starting. Again, we have about 2 more minutes to countdown, and then we'll get started as we let everybody in the room. Again, mahalo nui for everybody joining us today and making us your choice for all the amazing sessions that we do have today featured.
Oh.
And we are very excited, very, very excited. Again, just as a reminder, you may want to mute your mics as you enter the room. We know that Ohana are helping with homework and whatever it may be. So we're really excited and we're really thankful and grateful. So please, if your keikis run and I have need to ask you a question and they need a little bit of homework, that's absolutely fine. Please know that all of our sessions will be recorded today, or excuse me, a fair majority of our sessions will be recorded today and uploaded so that you folks can refer to them at a convenience. If we happen to miss something, don't worry, we're gonna get them back in there. So without further ado, if you have any questions, you're welcome to email myself at burpuan@ksbe.edu, or of course, we are free to welcome or reach out to the Ohana engagement at ksbe.edu is another email that they might actually be a little bit better helping with those technology questions. So again, that KSBE, or excuse me, Ohana engagement at ksbe.edu. Without further ado, I want to welcome, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. all the way from Iowa, presenting today and helping us ground our intentions with family and being able to work with each other in this crazy. We're very excited to have you. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mir. Me and my friend, we're going to ask you to mute your microphone so that there's no background.
We'll be starting in 1 minute.
All right. We will be beginning in approximately 1 minute, everybody, and turn it over to Mr. Mir. But we are very excited. Oh, but it looks like we're getting close to the cap of our room, ladies and gentlemen. We are the hot seller this morning. Awesome job. So without further ado, like I was saying, so excited and so honored to welcome Mr. Ron Mir, helping us ground our intentions and working with our Ohana in this crazy kind of time. Today, for your assistance, my name is Kaleo Puana. We will be here again to address any technical issues that you guys may have or questions that you may have. If you do use the chat, we'll be gathering those things and of course, turning it over to Mr. Mir at a later time. We want to welcome you and have a wonderful day. And without further ado, let's give a round of applause. Oh, and I'm sorry, I apologize. We actually have 2 friends today. Not only will we have myself, I will have Mr. Adam Toshi helping us also in the background running some of those things. So again, have an amazing day and a wonderful time. And we're excited. Let's give a round of applause to Ron Mir.
Good morning, everybody. I think if I was, I thought I muted everybody. I think I've put you all on mute to make sure we don't hear the background noise. My name is Ron Mir, and it's afternoon where I am, but good morning to you all. Thanks for letting me join you today. We have about 50 minutes for our session together. And I wanted just to tell you before we jump into this, a little bit about my background. I am starting my 40th year of being a social worker. My first job in schools was in 1981. And way back then I was in mental health and I helped, my job at the time was to help students and families get connected to mental health services, which is something that's pretty common now, but it wasn't so common at the time. And in 1993, I met a woman named Dr. Karen Mapp. She is a faculty member now in the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and she's certainly one of our nation's leaders, if not the leader, in how we can partner with families to support student learning. So today I'm going to share a little bit about what we've learned over the last 25, 30 years about what it takes, what you can do to be successful. And I really want to think about in the next 9 weeks, whether you've started school or not, as you're beginning this, as you're in the early parts of the school year, what you can do to partner with families right now in ways that make a difference to student learning. We're going to have you use several features several Zoom features today, and we're going to start by having you practice using the chat box. I'm going to try to read out some of the chats, and just by the way, some of your colleagues there, I know it's a very large conference today. This session is limited to 100 people, so it's the first 100 who got in. Congratulations to you. So if other folks say, oh, I didn't make it in because there was a cap, and we certainly can make the recording available to everybody. So what I'd like you to do is to start by practice using the chat box. You've probably all become experts at Zoom, but I want to see what you can do here. And I want you just to introduce yourself very quickly. I want you to type in the name of your school, right? One sentence. And in that include one positive word to describe your families. I've given an example here. It says Tubman Elementary, where our families are enthusiastic. So don't describe your students, don't describe your staff. How can you use one word, a positive word to describe your families? So take a second, I'm gonna watch the chat room. Kamehameha, where the families are resilient. Kamehameha Preschool, where the families are supportive. I see that from Michelle, where families are grateful, valuable. Here's the problem with having 100 people, the chats go by fast. I can't keep up with the reading. Where our families are resilient, our families are diverse. I like these words, these are positive. Families are supportive. See, our families are inclusive. Families are passionate, nurturing. Those are great words, great ways to describe your families. Okay, so it looks like folks are pretty competent with the chat. We're going to use the chat throughout the day. Now we're going to try a feature that you may not have used before. We're going to have you practice annotating. So somewhere on your Zoom screen, on mine it's at the bottom, is something, a feature called Annotate. If you look on, it depends if you're using a Mac or a PC, under View Options, I can go down and I can see Annotate. I want you to go ahead and choose Annotate. And when you do that, we're going to have a feature called Stamp right here. You can see it on the sample on the screen. And there's 6 different stamps. We're going to practice using 2 of these stamps right now. And my friends Chad and Claire are going to help me with this. So here's what I'd like you to do. Go to the stamp feature and somewhere near where it says stamp a star, see if you can stamp a star right there. I should see 100 stars shortly. Okay, Lou, I love it. You guys got it. Okay. Now, someone got ahead. Over on this side, see if you can stamp a check mark. Excellent. Okay. My friend Kaleo, perfect. If you could clear out all of the, all right, so now we're going to actually do a poll using this Annotate feature. I want you to think back to last spring, last March, when we began this whole COVID nightmare. Schools went to an online platform. So think back to last March, those last 9 weeks of school. What % of students in your school regularly attended during those online 9 weeks? And you see some choices here. See if you can keep your answer above the line. So let's look and see what % of students regularly attended. I see as high as 90 to 100%, but a lot of them are clustered around 0 to 59. A lot of schools tracked attendance by seeing who logged in. The second question I want to see how this comes out, if this is any different, is during those same 9 weeks, this isn't about did they log in, this is about when they logged in, were students fully engaged in the learning process. So if you use a check mark on the bottom and indicate what % of your students were fully engaged in the learning process. I do this presentation quite a lot, and what we're seeing here is exactly what we see nationally. More kids log in, not all kids log in, but more kids log in. Not as many kids are fully engaged. And if you look at this, I mean, the majority we're saying it's below 70% or even below 60%. And that's a real problem. My friend Clay, if you can clear out those. So the challenge that we have, when you think about what we just saw there, you just told me as a group, for a lot of you, not all your kids logged in, and even fewer kids were really engaged in the learning process. So what you have to think about is, we're in this online system now, or hybrid. You may go back to in-person, and it may go in-person back to hybrid, back to online. It's going to be a crazy year. And in spite of all this craziness, we still have to make sure that students learn. The number one way that's going to happen is that you're going to provide in your schools, the teachers are going to do really good, solid classroom instruction. But that is not going to be enough to get all students to proficiency. Even if every kid logged in and every kid was fully engaged, instruction alone still isn't enough to get every kid to proficiency. But in these crazy times, we need help from the families even more than we did before. We need help from the families making sure kids log in every day, that they're attentive and that they fully engage in the process. So let's talk about what you can do with families in the next 9 weeks to really increase the chance that kids are going to maximize the learning opportunity. We don't have a lot of time today, so I'm going to share with you one particular study. This is a study that they did of 71 Title I schools. And in these Title I schools, when teachers did 3 things with families, the performance in math and reading for students improved at a significantly higher rate. So this is one of many studies that helps us understand what we can do in partnership with families to support student learning. What I'd like you to do is take a minute and use the chat box and tell me, what do you think those 3 things are that teachers did with families? Not what they did with students, not what they did with each other, but what they did with families that made such a big difference to student learning. So I'm going to watch the chat room. Communication, check-ins, relationships. They empathized. I see communication coming up a lot. I see the word trust. Communication is a huge word. One-on-one support. They had fun. They were flexible. What else did they do with families? Again, I see relationship, communication. They invited families to participate. They had virtual parent sessions. You all are actually on the right track. I'm going to share with you what the 3 things are that the teachers did with families in these situations. The first thing they did is they made a positive personal connection with every family. And you can't do this with a robocall. You can't do this with an email. It means reaching out. Of course, this was pre-COVID time, so it was face-to-face. But now it could be face-to-face via Zoom, like we're doing now, or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams. But they made a personal connection. And in that personal connection, they didn't say, here's all the rules, here's what you need to do. They said to families, oh my gosh, Edith, I'm so glad your daughter's in my 3rd grade class next year. I'm so excited. Tell me about your daughter. What are your hopes and dreams for her? What do I need to know? What can you tell me about how she learns so that I can really be her very best teacher? And it was about forming and forging a strong, trusting relationship. And I saw a lot of words like that in the chat room as you were talking about it. So this came first. What we know from the research is if we want families to take action at home in ways that support student learning, it all starts with a strong, trusting relationship. That has to be the first thing. So once you have that trusting relationship, what is the second thing that teachers did? The second thing they did is they shared information with parents and families about how well the child was performing. And this may sound like, well, gosh, we do this already. But what we do now is we share data with families at conference, we share it on report cards. It often comes at the end of 9 weeks, at the end of the semester. So it comes late in the system. The other thing we know from a lot of research that's been done by a group called Learning Heroes is that most families in the US do not understand how well their child's performing, even though we give them all kinds of information. Learning Heroes is a group out of Washington, D.C. Every year, they survey families in every state and they do focus groups in every state. And they get a very consistent response. During the COVID period, they did 13 surveys across all 50 states, and they did focus groups in half of the states, both in English and in Spanish. One of the questions they asked families was, is your child at or above grade level? And what they found was consistent with what they found in the past. 93% of families believe their child is performing at or above grade level, 93%. And we know that's not true. If we look at the NAEP data for Hawaii, it ranges from anywhere from 60% proficient down to about 12% proficient. The other thing that Learning Heroes discovered is it doesn't matter what the family looks like. Every subgroup is essentially the same, 92, 93%. And the problem we have is that if families don't understand that their child is not performing at grade level, they're not going to be motivated to take action because they're going to believe their child is fine. So what they did in this study is they helped families understand very early in the year, like right now, how is your child performing against the standards so that families could accurately say, gosh, my kid is at grade level, above, or my kid is below. And when families recognize their kid's not where they're supposed to be, they're much more motivated to take action, particularly because you've got this really strong, trusting relationship with the family. So that second thing was early in the year, helping families really understand how well their child is performing. The third thing that teachers did is that they gave families resources to use, but they didn't just send home a note. They didn't just say, go download this link. They provided the resource to families and they taught families how to use the tool. Think about your classrooms. When you're trying to get kids to master a new concept, you don't stand up and lecture, or you don't just write something on a piece of paper, hand it to kids and say, read this, and then they're all proficient. That's not how it works. What happens is you demonstrate, you model, and then you give the kids many chances to practice. They practice with each other, they practice in groups, they practice with you. And all during that time, you're moving around and you're assessing and watching and adjusting instruction, making sure that all kids are learning. And if we had a smaller group and I could ask you all to chime in, and I said, how many times does it take for a kid to wrestle with something before they master the new concept? No one's gonna say one time or two times, they're gonna say many times. When you think about how we deal with families and how we engage families, what we typically do in schools is we send home a note, or at back to school night, we say, here's how you log in the parent portal, and we give them a piece of paper. We might have a family night where we demonstrate, here's how you can read with your child, but very rarely do we give families the chance to practice that. That would never work for bringing students to mastery. It never works for bringing adults to mastery. So what is different, and what these teachers did, is not only did they share the information, but they gave families multiple opportunities to practice with that information, get feedback, because that's how families feel more confident and more competent to take that action at home. So the three big things: make a positive personal connection, gave families information right away and checked to make sure they truly understood where their child was performing, and then they gave them tools that they could use and taught them how to use it. That's the recipe. And there are many studies that confirm over and over, this is what works to make a difference to student learning. So let me give you a couple examples. As you think about the next 9 weeks, what can you do in the next 9 weeks? Well, thinking about making personal connections, you can make welcoming telephone calls. You can have virtual home visits during those first 2 weeks of school, the get to know calls, not about the rules, not about the requirements, but get to know the child. You can share good news with families. This is what I saw, this is what your daughter did today. You can take advantage of, not only are we more savvy at using these tools like Google Meet and Zoom, but families are as well. So you can take advantage of that. So you have to ask yourself, in your classroom, in your building, what can you do? What can you encourage your peers to do to make this personal connection? For sharing data, you can have a data chat with families. You can have a virtual data chat, and if you share graphs and charts, some images that help them see in context. This is where your child is, this is where they need to be, and here's some information about why that gap is there. You can create tutorials. You can make a video for your classroom, for your building. You can do it with your grade level team to help families understand the data that you provide about student performance, because it's pretty clear most families don't understand. You can have some group meetings. You can have a family learning lab. Maybe every Thursday night at 4 o'clock, you have an open session for families to drop in and you talk about the data and help families understand how to know where their child is performing, because that's critical. The last thing is you want to train families. And I saw in some of the suggestions that you made at the beginning that having events for families. You might have a virtual parent university where families can pick from a variety of sessions, just like you're doing today. where they can come in and say, I want to know how to help my child with reading or math or whatever they're struggling with. You can have game nights that make it fun. I saw in some of the suggestions that'd be fun. An important thing to keep in mind is you as the educator, you don't have to do all of this. You can identify families. You can get a cadre of family ambassadors. You can train them and they can host these sessions so that more of you can be having, helping families engage in this conversation. So those are some ideas about what you might do to make the positive connection, help families understand where their child's performing, and teach families what they can do at home that will make a difference to student learning. What we're going to do next is we're going to put you all in breakout rooms. And in these breakout rooms, we're going to ask you to have a conversation. You're going to be in groups of about 10 people. And as you see on the screen here, there are 3 things we want you to talk about. The first thing you need to do is you need to appoint a note taker. Select a note taker. In the chat box, Kaleo and Chad, they're going to put a document that you can download. It's a Word document, and we want you to use this document to take notes. The document title says Group XX Notes. We need to make sure that whoever's the note taker changes the title of the document so it says Group 3 Notes or Group 10 Notes. When you're done with the chat, we're going to ask you to share those notes with us, and we're going to put it all into one document, and then we'll share that with everybody so you can see all of the suggestions that folks have. And then when you go back to your classroom, you go back to your school, you will know what you can do. You'll have some ideas to jumpstart the process. So I'm looking at the chat box. Kaleo, are you able to, or Chad, are you able to drop that document in the chat box?
Hey, I'm in a meeting. You guys, please stop yelling. And
I'm looking to see.
Ron, we're trying to get it in there. I believe Chad's working on that.
Yeah, I'm putting it in right now.
Great. Okay, so when we put you in the box, you're going to talk about all 3 of these things, some ideas, and it's just going to be a quick brainstorm. How can you make personal connections with families in the next 9 weeks? What can you do specifically to help families understand where their child is performing? And what can you do to teach families how to use a tool? Once you've renamed that, when you are done, I want you to, when we come back, we bring you back into the larger group. We'll ask some folks to share. We'll have you drop that file into the chat box, but I'm also going to ask you to email this to me. I did this session a week ago with some folks in California, and there was a problem with us being able to read some of the documents, and we want to make sure we get them all back. So I'm watching here. Any luck getting that file in there, Chad?
Still working on it. It's my network that's kind of getting stuck.
Okay.
But
what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the presentation for a minute, and I will get that file. So bear with me while I stop sharing my screen.
And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for bearing with us. We know that today we have an amazing amount of people here, and we will be working through our technical aspects. So we do ask for your grace, and we thank you as we work through some of these easier ones. I'm sure Mr. Mir will get it fired up for us. And again, we do apologize for not having that ready to go for you. That was something, of course, using the network and things like that. So again, we're asking for your grace. We'll allow Mr. Mir some time just to throw that in for us. And of course, we can continue on and make it.
Okay, I think here it comes. All right, there it is. You should all be able to see that and download it. I'm going to go back to this slide. So what you're going to do is you're going to appoint a note taker. You're going to have that note taker change the name on the document so it says the group number. And when we come back, you're going to email that document to me. So I'm going to put you into rooms right now. We'll have 10 breakout sessions, and we're going to give you about 10 minutes. Brainstorm as many ideas, be as specific as you can. As we've done this in the past with other groups, we've gotten some really good ideas. And as I mentioned, we'll put it all together for you so that you can have the entire list of ideas when you go back to your school. Also think about one item that you'd really like to share. When you come back, we're going to ask someone from each group to share your best idea for any one of the 3 areas. Does anyone have questions about the assignment. All right, so here we go. Out into the breakout rooms. See you in about 10 minutes. Chad, can you hear me?
Yeah,
So I don't know if you can see in the chat room.
Ron.
Those are all the people who must be away from their screen, and they have to say join the chat room. They have to select that. And they haven't.
Okay.
So they're
Let
probably
me see.
doing other things or on calls or something.
I can put them in the waiting room, but I can't redirect them to the.
No, they have to. They've got a link. They have to choose that link themselves. So I don't know. Let's see. I can see out there. There's not a name on this one. Edith, I don't know if you can hear me. If you can choose your breakout room, that'll take you. Super. And I'm going to send you to one of the breakout rooms, Chad, if that's okay.
Okay. I got it.
Let's see if I can get you.
I think I got 9.
9.
Accept
Okay.
it.
Go ahead. And you won't be able to get out until you, I mean, you won't be able to go to other groups. You'll just be able to go to that one.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Super. Marilyn, are you able to join your breakout room? So so it looks like Alicia, Heidi, Linda, Marilyn, Noe. If you select, do you have a breakout room that you can join?
I'm sorry, I was on another thing, so I came in a little late. This is Terry, Marilyn, it says up on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Tell me where I'm supposed to be looking for.
So let me see if I can send you to a breakout room.
Okay.
You should have a little message that says join breakout room. You are, let's see, I'm trying to see which room you're supposed to be in. Let's say, looking for the one that says Maryland.
Hi, Ron. This is Alicia. I'm in breakout room number 4. I had my phone and my laptop on, so.
Okay, just
with my phone, I'm on breakout room 4.
If you choose number 4, it should take you there.
Principal was always there between 8
and I didn't pick one. I was on I was on with the Department of Health thing, so yeah.
I'm going to see if I can assign you to a room, Marilyn.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know why. You must be assigned. Oh, assigned to. Here we go. All right, I'm going to send you off to one. There you go.
Thank you.
Kumu, can you hear me? Kumu, are you able to hear me? If you are, can you unmute? Kumu, are you there?
Do any of those need to be moved down to the next category, or do you guys have thoughts about, do you all have thoughts about what might go in number 2? Positive personal connections, and then help all families. Number 2 is how can teachers help all families? So if
help their kids at home. I know even as a parent, and I'm an educator, I still, my 3rd grader, I still sometimes don't know where he's supposed to be or what he's supposed to be working on or what the process is to get there. So that would be super helpful.
Yeah. You guys can see my screen, right? The notes that I'm taking. Yeah.
And then maybe also on there too, I know one of the things that we keep pounding is don't just do it one way. You need to make it available on different availability. So not just
For those of you who just joined, we have everybody in breakout rooms. They'll be back shortly. I'm going to go ahead and send you to a breakout room so you can join the conversation. If you just joined and you can hear me, we're in breakout rooms. I've assigned everybody to a breakout room. So if you could accept that, you'll end up in one of those breakout rooms, and we'll bring folks back here shortly.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you guys had as much great conversations as in your group as in our group. We're getting excited. I'm sure Mr. Mir is going to cue us back up again and wait for some of those responses. But again, thank you so much for being patient with us. We're having a great opportunity, great time. I'm participating, attending too, so I'm getting slow on the little clicking of the button. So again, thank you so much for your patience, and we'll turn it back over to Mr. Mir.
Yeah, almost everyone's back. I see a few folks still in the breakout rooms. We're waiting for folks to return.
Yes, sir.
There we go. Okay, so welcome back. Group 4. I don't know who's in group 4, but you're the winners. You've already posted your notes to the chat box. Thank you very much. So if you could all, let me share my screen here. Okay, here we go. So if you could share your group notes by adding the file to the chat box. Thank you, group 8. Make sure your group number is in the name of the document. And if you would mind, if it's possible, to email me a copy. That's the way we know we'll have them all. We had 10 total groups. I got to visit a couple. I dropped in on you. I don't know if you noticed I was going in and out listening, and I heard some really great examples. What I'm hoping is a few of you will be willing to share your very best ideas. Anybody from group 1 or 2 willing to share a really good idea? You can just unmute yourself and be willing and be free to share. Group 1 or 2, anybody?
One of the really great activities that one of our group members has suggested is that when they're meeting with Ohanas, to share SEL activities with the Ohanas and discuss the benefits of what those SEL activities can do by building relationships between Keiki and Makua and Ohana as well.
I love that. Great example. What group were you in, Kaylee?
1.
Group 2?
1.
No, I'm asking now. I'm calling on group 2 to share just like group 1 did. Anyone from group 2? How about group 3 or 4?
I'm from group 4, and one of our participants shared that in the first question that they made it mandatory for teachers to make personal phone calls in the first 2 weeks of school and to follow up per quarter thereafter so that they could make positive personal connections with all families.
I love that. I'm working with a school right now that is asking, the district that's making every teacher, not making, but having every teacher have a monthly conversation with families around learning, which is fantastic. That's a great idea. Kira, what group are you? You're 4. How about 5 or 6? Group 5 or 6? Anyone willing to share? Now, I visited several groups. You had great ideas. Don't be afraid to share.
I was in group 4. One of the things that we do, I know because Kiara already shared, but one of the things that we do is the teachers have like a family hour. Particularly, we were talking about doing it different days and different times of the week, depending on when it's good for the families. But to just be available for them, say for instance, in the morning on Mondays from 8 to 10, or Wednesdays at lunchtime, Friday night, so that they can tube up and either make an appointment with the teacher,
right,
to keep in touch with how their child is doing, or just to connect with other families in the class.
That's a great idea. Group 4 posted their notes first. They've shared twice. You are the stars of the day so far. How about groups 6, 7, 8?
I'm from group 6. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go first?
Oh, no, I'm 7.
Okay,
Great.
I'll go first. So our group had a lot of talks about the first category, mainly as group 4 said, doing a lot of phone calls, text messages, sometimes even Zoom, and letting parents know when they have open office hours, when they can check in, but also not only checking in on them to see how their children are doing, the students, but also to see how the parents are doing, understanding that some parents not have access to the technology, or they may not have been aware of messages that they received. They may be stressed, overworked. So just checking in to see how they are doing as well.
So I'm gonna, let's see, so that was group 6, and Heather, you're group 7?
Yes, and we're doing a lot of the same things at our school as group 6 discussed. Our middle school has a morning advisory with all their kids, and their parents are invited to come. And this is a time where they can discuss and give feedback. How are things going? What are your frustrations? And it's a daily opportunity to connect. Our high school is constantly offering help sessions, and students and parents can go and get answers and get trained on Blackboard and that sort of thing. Another thing that we've done is we've started learning hubs for kids that we notice aren't thriving, and this might be due to they don't have a safe learning environment, or they don't have enough technology among the family members, or they just need to get away from their parents. A lot of times it's this level of frustration that parents are having with their child because they're now the teacher at home.
Right.
And so we provide these connections for them to come to school and have someone monitor them and give them a quiet space to learn. And although we don't take many, we have maybe up to 7 a few times a week for half a day. It's really made a profound difference for these kids who need this emotional support. And it's now we're going to start adding more days so more kids can come.
So you have all shared some really great suggestions. And if we think back to what the research tells us, if you can focus what you do on teachers building positive relationships with the family, in addition to the student, helping the family understand where their child is performing, and building the family skill level to take action at home, to do something that makes a difference to student learning. So it has to go beyond, you have to do all those things with students and make the connection with families. So I'm actually gonna call out 3 people who I happen to know in the group. So if you're out there, if Andrea, Polly, or Chuan, you hear me, and you're willing to come on, what did your groups, what ideas did you come up with around sharing student performance data? Any one of you willing to share?
This is Andrea.
Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Ron. Wonderful to see you today, as always. One of the things that we shared in the group was ensuring that the educator can schedule a meeting with the family member, whether it is the parent or other parent, or other family member who supports the education of the child, to go over the information. You know, we're living in a situation where everything may not necessarily happen, you know, during the business day. Families have a lot of other obligations, and so we all have to move with some degree of flexibility. And the children are online, and you know the educators are kind of in the family homes anyway. So making an arrangement, even if it's just a 15 or 20-minute session, to be able to go over that information with the family member that is primarily supporting the child's education, to instruct them and have them practice and ensure that they have the competency and the capacity to be able to.
That you give them the opportunities to practice a couple times so that they feel competent, and that's going to get them much more likely to take action. Thank you for sharing. Polly or Chuan, you out there? Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, our group discussed several ideas actually. Hi, this is Chuan. Our how can teachers help families understand where their child is performing? We talked about having a survey on how child is performing at home. And we talked about parent education around assisting with academic goals. But before that, you know, like we would like to have the educators and teachers to, you know, have a communication with families about the school goals, grade level goals, and how their child is performing in comparison. And keep this information simple to ensure families can understand.
Right, I love that.
Yeah, we also talked about lesson. That's lesson is very important. Lesson to families about their child's strengths, challenges, needs, and strategies that they use to work with their children at home.
Right.
Yeah, so those are the things that we talked about.
So thank you all very much. I am looking at the clock. I'm so glad I get to be part of this conference today. One of the things I'm sad about is our breakouts are so short. So we're getting near the end of the time. I'm looking in the chat box and I can see that I have group 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 10. So I think 5, 7, and 9. And you may have emailed me your notes, but if you could drop that document into the chat box, that would be wonderful, if you didn't email it to me already. And as I mentioned, I'll put all these together and I will put that document into the conference place where you can download all the files. These slides are already there. And yes, we'll make the recording available to everybody. What I'd like you to do right now is look at that chat box. I just put a link in there. The link's on the screen. You can also use the QR code. Understanding, Chuan talked about doing a survey with families. I like a quick survey with you. If you would just click this link right now, use the QR code to go there. Couple quick questions we'd like you to answer about this session and what other supports you might need. That'll help us know how to follow up. So I'm going to ask you to take 2 minutes to be good participants by completing the evaluation. And when you're done with that evaluation, we're going to come back and I'm going to take questions.
Mr. Murr, I'm unsure if you're speaking to us, but you're on mute.
Not sure why I muted myself. Not a very good thing for the host to do. The last thing that I put up here on the screen is my contact information. It's my email, my phone number. If after today you have questions, if there's some way that I can help you, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to ask you, Andrea, I'm going to put you back on the spot. Just real quickly, could you let them know about your group and what you, how you might support folks? I didn't warn her I was going to ask her to do that. Andrea and Chuan work with the Statewide Family Engagement Project at the University of Hawaii.
Here's Chuan. She just has, Chuan, you have to unmute. We can see you, but we're muted.
Well, I can be a resource, and I actually get to partner with Chuan and Andrea on their project. I am in Hawaii sometimes. I'm actually looking forward to coming back once the travel restriction is lifted. You have some really great resources right there on the islands to help you with the family engagement pieces. So the last thing I'd like to ask is if anyone has questions. I'm trying to watch the chat room a little bit. It said, can I please cite the research sources again? Yes, that is in the PowerPoint, and those are in the slides that I will put together. The particular study that I talked about was a study of 71 Title I schools, and I will drop that article in that folder for you to have. Are there any other questions that folks have that I can answer today before you move on to your next session? You can unmute and ask your question, or you can drop your chat in the chat box. Someone said, what folders? Colette, could you tell them about those folders?
Yes, I'll take care of that. First of all, let's give Mr. Ron Ramirez a round of applause. Such an awesome, amazing job. We're so stoked and so grateful for all of what you shared. I am just having an amazing time. So ladies and gentlemen, with the access and registration today, you guys will have access to, following the conference, you probably have to give us to next week, that we will be gathering all the instructional materials that the presenters have provided today, and we are going to upload them so that you folks have access to them using the conference links. Now, using your registration emails, we are going to make sure that you get all those links. Of course, if for some reason you don't see them within the next week, you're welcome to email the Ohana engagement at kspe.edu so that we can kind of respond to your individual emails. Because we're attending to over almost 1,000 people today, we want to make sure everybody here gets the information, but at the same time, we'll stay on task. So with that thought, we'll make sure to get you guys all the links. And yes, you guys will have access to folders to all the speakers today. and you guys will be able to kind of peruse that information. Again, we invite you to reach out to Mr. Mir if you have the opportunity. And please do remember that he is off island with the time difference. So of course, if you guys are sending calls, we might have to just be conscious about that. Just as a reminder, our next session will be beginning at 11 and running from 11:50. So we encourage you guys to take your moment to please fill out the survey that Mr. Mir sent out. Also, in just a few minutes, Chad will be putting in other links. As a reminder, you guys can go ahead and click that, complete that survey for Mr. Mir, and of course, continue on with our amazing day we have. Again, as a reminder, our next session will be starting from 11 to 11:50. We're encouraging you folks to slowly make your way into those sessions, as we know that we might be filling them up today. Again, I want to bid you a fond farewell. We're going to leave Chad, Mr. Mir here for a few more minutes as I hop off and start our next session. But again, mahalo nui, Ron, and mahalo nui to everybody else that has chosen to join us today and spend their time with us this morning. We're truly appreciative to have you folks and truly honored to be your host today. Have a wonderful day. We look forward to you guys again. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and reach out to the website, ohanaengagement@ksbe.edu. Have a wonderful day, Ron. You're the man.
Thank you. Thanks
Aloha,
for joining.
everybody.
Enjoy your conference.
I will. Mahalo, Ron. Ahui ho, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
So what I did, everyone, was I put, if you've, first of all, the most important thing is to complete Mr. Mir's survey. But there's also one that we would like to give. So for future of these workshops that Ohana Engagement are setting up, that if you guys could also provide the Ohana Engagement team with some feedback. So if you do have a quick second, we'd really appreciate that. That link is in the chat now, but of course, please make sure that you do Mr. Mir's survey. That is the most important survey to do. And yeah, any questions, I'm here. I am definitely not as fun and as good an MC as Kaleo is, so I'm sorry to disappoint everyone, but I will try my best just to be here while we kind of tie up loose ends. If you guys have any questions, I'm here. Of course, Mr. Mir is here, and please take advantage of the great resource that we have a connection to today. So thank you again, Mr. Mir. Really appreciate your time.
Feel free to dance.
That's another thing. I can't dance as well as Kaleo.
I like it, Cynthia's dancing. Chad, I have downloaded the notes.
Okay.
And here I'm going to go to these two links where folks put them in a Google.
The Google Drive one.
I need
Okay.
to do that before we end the meeting because
Yeah,
I make sure.
I'm doing